Welcome to the Nate and Dorin podcast. We are professional videographers based out of Vancouver, Canada, and we are here to talk about relevant topics within the video and media industry. I am Nate, and I run Nate Dixon Media.
And I'm Dorin, the videographer, sole entrepreneur offering video production services. And today we are going to have a chat with our guest, Deanna, owner of Uncorked Films. Deanna, welcome to the podcast. Please introduce yourself and your business.
Thank you so much for having me, first of all. I'm Deanna. I am the owner of Uncorked Films. I'm based in Kelowna, BC, in the Okanagan. And I am mainly a wedding videographer, but I dabble a little bit in corporate. My main focus is wedding videography. That's kind of where my passion lies, though. I've been filming weddings now for almost 9 years, but I've been running Uncorked Films. I started Uncorked Films a little over 3 years ago.
Okay, and before you get too far, can you tell us the story of why it's called Uncorked Films?
So I ended up in a situation where I kind of had to start the business up quite quickly. And so I started just brainstorming, random words and what like how I could come up with a brand, just with random spitballing words. And I didn't want to brand as myself, just because, down the road, if I wanted to expand into a team or that kind of thing, I didn't want to be branding as myself. So started off literally just going through and kind of listing off random words and seeing if anything kind of clicked. And then I was speaking to a friend of mine, and she suggested something like popped, because I really wanted to talk about capturing celebratory moments and those kind of things. And so she was like, well, what about that moment when you pop a bottle of champagne? But I really didn't like the word popped. It just, I don't know, it just
Popped
didn't sit
films.
well. Right. So it just didn't sit well with me. So then from there, I just kind of went and I was trying to think of something that had the same sentiment, that celebrating sentiment, but wasn't that word. And so I also then was thinking, Okanagan. I live in the Okanagan. I shoot a lot of weddings at the wineries and that kind of thing. And it's very much a destination here for weddings, and the wineries are a big part of that. So yeah, the name Uncorked came to me when I was trying to figure out, a different word for popped. And you uncork a bottle of wine, you pop a bottle of champagne. So yeah, that's kind of the sentiment behind it, is just I'm capturing, these celebratory moments, whether it's a wedding, a proposal, or all those kind of things.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
That's
would
very
you
cool.
would you say weddings was your main, like, from when you started?
Yeah, that's kind of what actually started my career. I initially, when I was in university, I wanted to film music videos. I didn't necessarily even want to film them. I wanted to edit music videos. That's
Mm.
where my kind of passion was, until I did my first music video out of school, and I did not enjoy it at all.
Oh.
It was a lot of work, and I don't know, I couldn't get my vision out, it seemed. And then this company, I had to do an internship when to finish university, and I was working for a company and they did a lot of weddings. And so he gave me a wedding to work on, and I immediately fell in love with it. So I never really turned back after that.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, we do have a clip you've sent in for us, which is, would you say is your best or your most favorite of the year?
It's definitely one of my favorites of the year. I really started to kind of focus on being more intentional with my edits,
Mm.
and this story, I love telling stories, and this couple has a story, and so that's kind of why I picked it to share.
Sweet. Well, I'm gonna full screen it here in a second, but before I do that, I just wanted to compliment you on your setup. You look and sound great. I'm just curious, what camera are you using to capture?
Oh, thank you. I am using my Sony A7S, or no, it's the A7 III. And
Same with
is that
me,
what you've
Nate.
got, Nate? Both
Yeah.
of
We have the
you, the
same,
A7
yeah.
III. Nice. They're such wicked cameras.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got the A7 III. I've got my my nifty 50 on there
Mm-hmm.
that I love. So yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you.
All right. Well then, let me share screen and let's see this. There we go. That was a pretty smooth transition. And I can see all three of us. Are you able to see my cursor?
I don't see your cursor.
Oh, there we go.
There it is.
Ah, okay, so I need to have the window active. There we go. All right, let me know if you do not hear this. But it should be running audio as well. All right, here is Natalie and Kyle highlight film.
All right.
Just need a sec. Natalie, today, surrounded by our friends and family, I choose you to be my wife, partner in life. I love you so much.
Love the establishing shot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Kyle, we're finally here. After what already feels like the journey of a lifetime, we've made it to our wedding day. And with all of our history, it's hard to put into words all the things I want to say to you. But I'm gonna do my best. Our love story is over 20 years in the making. It started in kindergarten when we were just two kids learning how to share and be kind. Little did I know that I was learning alongside the man I would one day share my life with.
But it all started in kindergarten. They actually went to kindergarten together. I remember saying to him, it was probably about grade 3 or 4, I leaned over to him one day and I says, you know what, you should date that Halling girl someday. And he goes, oh, Dad, girl, Dad, I don't like that.
What was supposed to happen?
It went on for many years. I know that Natalie went on to a different junior high, and then they came back together in early high school. And out of the blue, Kyle came up to me and he says, hey, Dad, I'm going to make your day. I'm going to say, okay, what are you going to do to make my day, right? And he said, remember that girl, Natalie Holland? I'm dating her.
I had a unique privilege of growing up with both Kyle and Natalie. And one memory stands out in my mind, and it's the night that Kyle and Natalie drove over to my parents' house. I don't really think Kyle and Natalie understood at the time that they were destined to be together, but being the third wheel there, sitting there, I could see it was very clear that they were both falling for each other. It was really, really awkward for me.
Eddie?
I'll ever be.
We've seen her courage. We've seen her determination. More importantly, she's got after 3 daughters, you'd think this would get easier. More importantly, she's got a heart. She's compassionate. She's considerate. And most of all, she's kind. To watch her now choosing a partner through her life who shares those same qualities.
Kyle, you have excelled in many, many things that you have done in life. You have surpassed all of our expectations on the beautiful bride that you have today.
Natalie, you have married a good man who will forever stand beside you for all the adventures you want to take him on. And Kyle, you've married a wonderful woman who will build your life with joy that only people dream of. I've seen how you two make each other so happy. I see how both of you bring out the best in one another. And I know that whatever future you have together, the future will be full of joy and love.
Through the years, we've always been somehow connected. Whether it was school or friends, our dads working together, or talking about our shared interests on MSN,
Nice.
I always managed to find my way to you. Then in high school, you became my best friend. From the time we were 16, I have known you are the man I would one day marry. 12 years ago today, you asked me to be your girlfriend, and my life changed forever. Every day since then, we've walked through life hand in hand, supporting, celebrating, and loving each other every step of the way.
You've helped me become the person that I am today, and with you as my wife, I will become an even better person tomorrow.
Natalie, we are so happy to be here with you and Kyle. It's somewhat strange to reflect that we're at your wedding because you guys have been together for so long and Kyle has been part of our family for so long.
Natalie, you have been an integral part of this family long before you had that ring on your finger. Together, you have set the standard high. You continually demonstrate what unconditional love and teamwork looks like. You show us all that life is truly better together.
Kyle and Natalie, in front of your family and friends, you have committed to a lifetime of together. You'll walk side by side and experience many of life's greatest triumphs together as one. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce to you, now as husband and wife, for the first time, Mr. and Mrs. Hofstetter. Kyle, you may now kiss the bride.
You're the most caring, loving person I know. Your beauty inside and out shines everywhere you go. We've been through a lot together in the past 12 years, good and bad. We took on high school. We've traveled the world together, and we even started our own little family, getting a little COVID puppy. There's no one else that I would have rather built these memories with than you.
I am so in love with you and this life that we are building together. I love the way you make me laugh. I love the way your eyes light up when you talk about something you're really passionate about and want so badly to share it with me. I love that you're a kid at heart that's never afraid to take on a challenge. I love that you're genuinely kind. I love who I am when I'm with you and the way you make me feel about myself. You make my world brighter and more colorful. You've been my rock on bad days and lifted me higher on the good days, and you always give my hand an extra squeeze to say I love you when I need some reassurance. We've literally been through it all together, and today we start a new chapter in our story. Today we commit to each other forever.
Today marks a new chapter in our lives. When we first started dating, it did not take long for me to know that this wasn't a normal high school relationship. I knew it was so much more. And I knew early on that this day would someday come true, and I would be promising my love to you. I promise to love you unconditionally. I promise to be there to encourage you and motivate you to achieve the great things I know you're capable of. I promise to be not just your partner, but your best friend. I promise to trust and listen to you every day.
I promise to share my life with you, to be your teammate and best friend on the good days and the tough days. You're the most driven, intelligent, resourceful person I know, and I know you'll accomplish anything you set your mind to. I promise I will be there every step of the way to cheer you on and support all your goals and dreams. I promise to listen to the stories of your day, even when I don't necessarily understand them. I will continue to grow with you and take on all the adventures, twists, and turns that life throws at us. I promise to respect you, be honest with you, and love you forever. And when you squeeze my hand, I promise to always squeeze back.
I will be there for you no matter what life throws our way. You really mean the world to me. There's no one else in the world I'd rather talk to at the end of a rough day, and no one else's opinion I value more than yours. And no other smile that means more to me than that one right there. It's always better when we're together. I love you.
I love you more today than yesterday, and I will love you even more tomorrow. You have my whole heart now and forever.
Man, it sounds like those guys are in love or something.
Right?
Oh, that was almost 9 minutes? It felt like 3. That was really good.
Thank you.
Oh man, that was a great video. I don't even know where to begin with that one. I have so many questions. I'm so curious about so many things. I guess I'll just ask you this. Why is this your favorite of this year?
You know, it's not even necessarily because of the shots or the audio or like anything technical about it. It's literally their story is so spectacular. And so I was there to just document their wedding day, but I was able to tell them, like, tell their entire love story in that film, which I think is really special.
And it was so cool how you brought in all that like archive footage of them like
Hmm.
in kindergarten together. And how did you do that MSN Messenger mock-up?
Oh, that was fun. I
Yeah, right there.
I spent ages trying to find if I could download MSN first
Hmm.
and actually create the conversation, but unfortunately can't do that anymore. It doesn't exist. So I managed to find a screenshot of MSN Messenger, and then I just went in Photoshop and I created it, and then I just animated out the text.
Ah,
Yeah, so I created kind of the template and then had multiple images and animated the text in.
So did you come up with those usernames? Kyle
No, so
Twist
I
1080?
actually I was back and forth with the bride quite a bit during all of this. Did you guys also notice my little advertisement in the bottom left corner?
I didn't.
Oh,
Sneaky.
wow.
But anyways, yeah, I was back and forth with the bride a lot. As soon as I had this idea, I knew that I needed her involvement in this to do it properly. So I reached out to her and I said, do you have what if you were on MSN? She said it in her vows. She said MSN. So I said, if you were on MSN,
Mm.
what would your usernames have been? And so she gave me those. And then she actually sent me the photos to make their little profile pictures as well.
Wow,
Oh, that's
authentic.
so cool.
Yeah.
So it's safe to say this is not like a one day edit. This is like you took your time, you got the details, and you weaved a story and you made it come to life as much as possible.
Yeah. And that's something that I pride myself on. And it's something that I've really struggled with this year as well, because I booked a lot of weddings this year. I filmed a lot of weddings this year,
Hmm.
but I don't want that to affect the quality of my product. I don't want to ever rush any single wedding film because I feel like I need to be faster and get this to people faster because I just booked so many. So it's been a constant conversation I've been having with my couples and just updating them and letting them know, I'm working really, really hard, but I want to give every single film the love and attention that it deserves. And this was a prime example of that. I mean, I don't even know how many hours went into this film, but as soon as I had this idea of bringing in this old footage and like really weaving in this, like they met in kindergarten. That doesn't happen these days, you know?
Hmm.
And so as soon as I had that idea, I couldn't let go of it. And when the bride was on board to, track down some of that footage, I I knew I just had to give it my all, and I had to do their love story justice, really.
Mm. So do you feel that most of your clients are very understanding and accepting of that, or do they have like, well, I expect this in a week?
No, you know what? Everybody has been really incredible this year. The stress is all me.
Hmm.
It's me wanting to be better for my clients. I don't want them waiting as long as they are for their films. But then I deliver something like this and it's like the time doesn't even matter to them because
Mm.
and multiple clients when I'm updating them, they've come back and they're like, we'd rather wait for your work. Your work is incredible and it's worth waiting for. So I've been extremely, extremely grateful for all of my clients this year who have been so understanding of the time.
Hmm. So, like for this client specifically, did you give them anything while they were waiting? Like, oh, here's a quick vows and first kiss that you can put on social media real quick, or did they ever ask you for stuff like that?
I do offer a teaser as an option with all of my packages, and a lot of couples will add it on because they get it within a week of their wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, this couple specifically, they actually had a live stream on the day, so they had their ceremony in full, just what the live stream was. They had that already, but some of them, yeah, don't have anything at this time. I do try to get teasers to out to couples as soon as, if I have the time, I
Mm-hmm.
try to offer them and do them. But this year it just wasn't possible. So some of them are just waiting. But
And sorry,
Something that I sorry,
sorry, I
Dorin,
just
you go
wanted,
ahead.
yeah, I just wanted to clarify with the live stream. Were you providing that too?
I provided it. I did hire it out,
Okay,
but I was in charge of making sure that it all went smoothly.
nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Something that I was going to say is I noticed that you had a lot of people mic'd up, not necessarily during the times where you'd expect, like the officiant, that makes sense. During their vows, that makes sense. But then, like the bride talking with her dad and them sharing that intimate moment, using those clips and sprinkling them in, it really feels like you captured the full day and not just, the ceremony set
Yeah.
aside and like compartmentalized. It felt a lot more organic that way. And I was wondering, have you always mic'd up so many people in like every single moment you can, or did you kind of start doing that later?
Well, audio is everything in my films. It's from start to finish. I don't make films that are pretty shots to music. I just don't do it.
Mm.
I want to tell stories, and the best way to tell a story of a wedding day is through their own words and through those moments. So it's definitely been something that I've really always tried to do is capture high quality audio. That moment with her dad, it was a first look with her dad, so I did have a mic on her dad. Um,
Mm.
so, but yeah, in situations like that, little first looks, some people think it's, the dad will be like, oh, I don't need a microphone, and I put one on him anyways, because you get things like that when they mutter something under their breath, that our camera, when we're trying to stay back a little bit and give them that moment and that space, our cameras don't pick up that stuff, right? So they forget about the microphone, and we capture great little moments like that. So it's always worth it to take that extra minute. And I've got the Tascam, the DR10Ls, and they're so easy to just pop onto somebody's, like, into their pocket or whatever, and just start it recording, clip it onto them, and you're good to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna ask, have you ever had a like a groom opposed to having the mic visible? Because it ruins
Yeah,
the photos. It shows up in the photos. I've had that a few times.
yeah, I've had that. Uh, it's in those situations, sometimes I can tuck it under their tie,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, he was wearing a bow tie, so the other option, I'll just be honest with them and transparent and just say, you know what? Yeah, I can tuck it, into your jacket. The audio is not going to be nearly as clear, but as this is what I do. You don't notice it really, and you're going to get the best quality sound out of this. You're going to get the best quality product if you just let me do this. Just trust me. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I'd say like 99% of them do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It helps if you have a black as well. This guy has like a different colored, so it
Yeah.
stands out a bit more.
Well, and he was also wearing two because of the live stream.
Oh, okay.
So
Ah.
he had one that was feeding directly to the live stream, and I never trust anything completely wireless with audio. Like, it's backups upon backups upon backups. So I wasn't willing to trust the live stream wireless microphone because those things cut in and out, and it's just the microphone on the groom is the most important, I think, during a wedding ceremony. So he was wearing two, unfortunately. So yeah, on the maroon suit, it was, and he didn't have a boutonniere either, which I can usually try to kind of like tuck it in next to so that you can't really see it as well, or it's not as obvious.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I gotta ask, did you film this solo or did you have a team of three? I can. see at least 3 camera angles on the same moment. Am I
Yeah,
correct in
so
assuming you had a 3 camera setup for the actual ceremony?
I did have a 3 camera setup for the ceremony plus the live stream camera, but I didn't use any of the live stream camera
Mhm.
in this film. So I had one person manning the live stream, and then I had a second shooter with me.
What? That's it?
Yeah, there are
So,
2 of us.
so that means that. Hold on, where are these shots? Oh, good, I can use my keyboard. Thank you. Where is it? So this shot, was this manned? Or did
Yes.
you? Oh, okay, because it's such a tight shot. Like I don't know, when I've tried to solo and place like, okay, this is where the groom should be, this is where the bride should be, and then I go on the central camera, and then later in the edit, it's like, oh, the bride shifted over and completely
Yeah.
covered that. I'm like,
Hmm.
disaster.
No, that was manned. My second shooter got that shot. Well, I was on the bride.
So you didn't have the second shooter on the bride. Oh, you had the bride.
I was on the bride.
Okay,
Cool.
like this shot, kind of during vows and
Nope.
stuff.
No, that was just a locked. During vows, I'm usually close by monitoring it.
Mm.
But when I'm monitoring it, I've also got an angle on her.
Because
I
you
roam
were
on the
this
gimbal.
moving shot in the center, right?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm a ninja. I go everywhere.
Sweet. And you did an amazing job of using clips that don't show like the photographer sneaking in front of like the camera to get their prime angle. Do you have any discussions with the photographer before like the wedding event?
Usually it's just on the day.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my main things. I just try to be as open a communicator as possible with the photographer on the wedding day. I mean, if we're talking to each other and trying to figure out a plan, I'm willing to compromise a little bit of how I shoot if they're willing to as well. Uh, the main goal, we're both being we've both been hired by the couple to capture their day. It's not about anything else other than that. So I definitely like to kind of chat game plan with them,
Mm-hmm.
and then just try to make sure that we're not getting in each other's way. For this one, I was working with a photographer that I have worked with before. So
That's nice.
yeah.
Like they asked for a photographer reference and you gave that, or it was just coincidence?
It was just coincidence that we ended up working together again. Yeah, and
Yes.
yeah, he's really great, and he's super chill. Royce Silas photography. He's super laid back, really fun, and his second shooter was really great as well for making sure that she was staying out of the way, and um, very aware. And I definitely try to not include them in the highlight film if at all possible.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I don't want it to seem like it was a production, right?
Right.
Yeah. Did you try and get them throwing that beanbag in it to land in the hole, and you just had to settle for the one that spilled out, or did you just like grab it and go?
So the way that I approach it is I typically try to be as uninvasive, is that a word, as possible.
Yeah.
I try to just let the moments happen. I don't really like to direct. So that one was just waiting to see if they got it in there. And I just liked that shot. I kind of liked that it didn't go in.
Mm-hmm.
Because 90% of the time playing that game it doesn't.
Yeah.
And it looks a bit more staged if you've got one where it goes in, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I get you.
I have to say, you said something earlier that really is kind of my line of thinking. You said you didn't want to just do a pretty sequence of like images or clips, cut the music. I've seen that's like I am no pro wedding guy, and I don't have my own style developed yet. But I do know a style that I don't like, and that's the style of like doing random shots just to music. Like
Yeah.
for me, story and continuity is a thing. So
Yeah.
like having the first shot be them like kissing and already on their way out of the aisle, and then like a bunch of shots before, and then a bunch of shots after, and a bunch of shots back at the wedding with just music just didn't make any sense to me. But you took the vows and you just matched the clips to their story. and it felt like I was mesmerized. I was like I got to know these guys now. Like, man, these guys are really into each other.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I mean, it it would be so easy to just take up all the shots in chronological order and put them to a beautiful song with lyrics and, call it
Mm,
a day. But it just doesn't tell the story. And so I spend a lot of time. The audio is one of the first things that I'll lay out.
mm,
And I just lay that out, and I go back and I listen, and then I try to figure out, okay, where do I want this to go next? And it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot out of me too.
mm-hmm,
I've just noticed that I can leave a day where I'm really trying to get this story going and get the story set up. And if it's not working, it's incredibly frustrating because I know what I want and I know what I want to achieve. And so sometimes I'll just have to, kind of take a step back and then approach it with a fresh mindset. But I definitely, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of
mm-hmm.
energy to try to just really make it perfect. And every film is not perfect, but I try to get it as close as I possibly can to perfect, so that like I want every couple to have the best wedding film that they could have. You only get married once most times, so.
Mm. Yeah, you definitely strike me as the perfectionist type, Deanna. And I was gonna ask, is there ever any challenging times where you feel like the vows, like the way they were delivered or something makes them like harder to cut to, like they just don't sound good, either for technical reasons or just the way they delivered it because they were super nervous on their wedding day, maybe they were just mumbling it.
Yeah.
Like, how do you get around those roadblocks where the people aren't like expressive and emotional and clearly easy to listen to?
You know, that's who they are sometimes, right?
Mm.
And so it may not sound the prettiest, but it's usually a genuine emotion. So if somebody, I had a groom once and he got so emotional that he's really high pitched. And it's not how he usually speaks, but the emotion that's coming out of him is insane. And so I kind of love that. I also had a bride this year who she asked me not to put her vows in her video because she was so nervous about how she
Mm.
sounded. And she actually tried to start her vows, got choked up and emotional, and then had to have the groom do his first. And she was like, please don't put those in there. And I had to work with her and convince her. I was like, this is beautiful. It's amazing that you had so much emotion that you didn't have the words, right? And she's not the only bride that that's happened to. I just finished another film where the bride was constantly pausing and
Mm.
choking up, and it's those moments where you let it breathe a little bit and you watch that break and you watch them take that moment. Those are really powerful.
Mm.
So as far as delivery goes, I mean, there's some people that are super nervous. They'll be really quiet, and those people often I've found actually not even do custom vows if they're not really um, comfortable or confident with a public delivery. They'll just do the what needs to be said.
Mm.
And those are quite like I'll cut those together to say, I do take this person to be my lawfully wedded wife, to happen to hold all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I don't know that I've necessarily found somebody where I struggled with their delivery and didn't find some good in it, if that makes sense. I feel like that was a long way to answer your question.
Yeah, but
Well,
it makes sense.
I noticed one thing here. I'll pick at something that
Yeah.
I've encountered myself as well. When the mic's on the groom, his breathing sometimes overpowers her quiet
Yeah.
little vow. Here I could
Yeah.
hear him kind of sniffing, like
Yeah.
composing himself, but it wasn't so distracting as a few other things I've had. So have you ever had the groom just like make too much noise?
I actually had one, it's so funny, where I sent off a ceremony edit and the bride came back and she said, "Can you please edit out his sniffling?" because when you're delivering that and upset, it's this constant.
Yeah.
And I think I counted. I was like, I gotta see how many sniffles I'm
Put
editing
a
out. This is
counter number.
ridiculous. 137 or something ridiculous like
Oh.
that. It was so funny.
Mm.
Anyways, but yeah, it definitely, I do try to work with that audio
Mm.
sometimes and see what I can do to kind of bring it down, but I'd rather have that than it sound robotic or artificial.
Yeah.
I do like to put a microphone on the bride as well, but
Oh.
in some situations the dress won't allow, or the bride really doesn't want it because they're worried about it being seen, and the last thing I want on their wedding day is them standing there worrying about this microphone. So it totally kind of depends if I mic up the bride, but
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing to try to mitigate the groom breathing, sniffling situation.
Yeah.
And I was just gonna say, I guess speaking on microphones too, that if I was to pick this apart, the reception microphone was a super, super directional mic.
Mhm.
Oh, it was brutal to work with to try to make it sound good, especially because you got people that are expressive and it's going every which way. Um, and at this venue, you couldn't have, because it's an agricultural district, I think you couldn't have speakers outside. So the speaker, you can actually see above that bridesmaid's right shoulder is where the speaker is. No, there's the other window down there. That's the
Oh,
speaker.
look, yeah.
And so the setup, it was actually like this microphone was going to that, and so the wireless connection was terrible. And if I needed to check anything, I had to go inside and go and check it. It was absolutely brutal. And there was so much good things said
Mm.
at the reception during the speeches. So that audio was a struggle to work with. But
So besides the wireless mics that we saw, do you have any hidden mics anywhere?
Nope.
Backup mic.
Nope.
I usually
Nope,
plop like a Zoom H1 in the decor somewhere if it's close by these guys. That saved
Yeah,
me a few times.
sometimes I really don't like it. It can save you, but also you've got your on-camera audio too, which I feel like is kind of.
Oh no, what I meant was like I didn't have my wireless fail me, but they had a surprise like, oh, now grandpa's going to come and give a benediction. Like that was not at the rehearsal on Thursday. Oh, well,
Yeah.
grandpa couldn't make it. Like nobody told me.
No. Yeah, I like
and
to
he
have.
didn't have a mic to his face, so what was I gonna do?
I'll usually try to get kind of closer to those situations with a shotgun mic on a camera. Is what I'll try to do in those situations. But yeah, or I have hidden my Zoom recorder in bouquets, like the flowers and stuff before too. I think my external was plugged into a system at this time though, so it was getting a different backup.
So your two other cameras are on tripods and you're on a gimbal, is that correct?
Yes.
Awesome. I love the gimbal sweeping shots. And were these, do you have like all the same camera body so they all match, or like what different cameras do you use?
I think that one was two A7 IIIs and then an A7S2.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So you can
So-
shoot in the same picture profile.
Exactly. Yeah,
Nice.
I definitely like to try to shoot all Sony when possible.
Nice. And is that your drone shots that we see at the beginning and end?
Yep.
Awesome. They
Ooh.
look so good.
What drone do you
Thank
have?
you. It's the Mavic 2 Pro.
Nice. What's the shot at the end?
There was one at the venue,
close to the
kind
end.
of. It's more like actually on the venue. I don't remember where it is.
Oh,
There.
I
Oh
see.
yeah, you just yeah. Nice. So do you just like fly it up for like 10 minutes and get a few shots and then land it?
Yeah, it totally depends if I actually have time on the day. This one, I mean, the water was really important to them. They really wanted to get married in front of the water. And so I thought that it was really important. They also are not from the Okanagan, so I thought it was a really great way to show off the location a little bit to get up a little bit higher. So, and that venue allows it, the location allows it. So,
Wait, you
yeah, I
filmed
just,
all of this in one day?
yeah, this was actually
Wow. Like
only,
like
I
the
think
bride prepared herself, dressed herself at the venue instead of like her place?
she was like 5 minutes away from the venue, and I just kind of got there for when she got in the dress. This was one of those situations where they didn't so much want the getting ready, and so I didn't get any groom prep or anything. Just got her getting into her dress and then her first look with her dad, and then we headed off to the ceremony. So it was actually a shorter day. I think it was 6 or 7 hours.
Oh wow.
Mm.
Hmm.
Well, well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, those 9 years was it, you said? The
Yeah.
experience really shows off. Man.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is I got a lot of stuff to learn from this. This is amazing. And
Thank you. That means a lot.
coming back to that previous point of like just because a lot of couples want the most romantic Bruno Mars or some other music and the lyrics drive the feelings and you have to match the clips to that. But what
Hmm.
you did was you made their actual experience and emotion and you just had background music complementing that. The music never competes with the emotion, and that's how you tell a story. So I am impressed by this. Like this is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, music selection is a whole different topic. I'm trying to figure out the songs that are going to work with it. I usually have an idea in my head, and then it's just a matter of finding it.
Mm.
But yeah, I like songs that most of the 90% of the time I'm using an instrumental, and because my videos are so heavily audio based. If you look at my timeline, it's just all audio the entire way through,
Mm.
multiple lines of audio. So they're so heavily audio based. Putting something with lyrics is just, it's nearly impossible because then it really does start to compete. But yeah, there's it just, I don't know, I just found this story. It was a struggle to put together, but I am so happy with how it came out because, like you said, it made you feel like you knew them,
Yeah.
and that makes me feel like I've done my job.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, like I haven't developed my own style. Like I've mostly like my main thing is corporate. So like the weddings that I've done this year are like the small like half-hour ceremony. Like oh, it's a COVID wedding. Like half the people can't make it. Uh,
Yeah.
let's just do it quick. But yeah,
Hmm.
I would love to do this kind of stuff.
Well, if you ever have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I
Oh, I'm gonna
love what I
go to
do
your
and I love
website
chatting about
and binge watch all of them after this, and then I'll hit you up with some questions like, "How did you
it.
do this? This
Sounds
seems
good. I can't give away
impossible to
all
me."
my secrets though.
Of course, of course.
Then Dorin starts his own competing business called like
Oh my gosh,
Recorked Films.
Popped.
they're yeah, popped productions.
Yeah.
Up
I
for
really hope
grabs.
that there's not somebody out there that like has that name and I'm making fun of it. But yeah, it's there are enough weddings to go around, especially next year.
Okay, I just have a few more questions, if you still have some time for us.
Of course.
Um, Are any of these shots staged? So, like, for example, all this family stuff, you just, like, the photographer organized these, like, hey, everyone, do this, and you, like, were on the ball to, like, okay, I'm gonna position and capture this moment. Is that generally how all of these shots kind of went? Or was there any
Yeah.
shot that you're like, hey, I want you guys to walk down in between the grapevines here, and I'm gonna film a slow-mo with this?
The only time that I really will direct is during the photo shoot, and it's a lot of the time if the photographer isn't giving me that movement, if they're not asking for that movement for their photos, if they're just posing them and they're still, then I'll jump in and ask for a little bit of movement. Like this situation, it was golden hour portraits, and
Okay.
the light was hitting really beautifully behind them, so we got them in that row of vines, and then
Mm-hmm.
my cue is often just love on each other because I don't want to put couples in a pose that's uncomfortable or that they wouldn't go into because why. It's their wedding day. You want it to look like their relationship. So I'll just kind of get them where I want them, and then I'll be like, okay, love on each other. I don't want your hands to stop moving or something like that, to try to get authentic interactions between them.
So, time wise on the day, was this stuff in between the ceremony and the reception when there's usually kind of a break?
This was actually, they ran out of time between their ceremony and reception. They just did family photos and bridal party photos, and then they completely ran out of time. It was also during that heat wave. So it was, I think, 38 or 39 degrees on that day. So they just needed a break. So we ran out of time, moved into the reception, and then we told them, we said, if you're not going to do photos now, you're going to do them during golden hour. This venue gets incredible golden hour light. And they did. The light during their golden hour session was absolutely stunning. So we snuck them away for, I think it was just 15 minutes.
Oh wow,
went
nice.
in golden hour, and just kind of, the groom did not want to put his jacket back on. He was like, it's too hot, but the bride wanted him wearing that jacket for the photos. So it was like 15 minutes, and then when they were done, they were done. They were like, okay, now it is party time.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah,
Did you have to worry about any camera overheating issues?
Yep. Thankfully on this one, I didn't have too many problems. Like, obviously the ceremony reception are the when you're rolling for a longer period of time, those are more troublesome. But surprisingly, during this one, we managed to kind of keep it at bay. I wear a hat, and so I actually had the situations, not at this wedding, but where my second shooter would just grab my hat off my head and she'd put it on the camera to try to kind of shade it and cover it up a little bit. And I've got, white cloths and all that to try to keep them from overheating. But thankfully, this one, we didn't have too many problems. The one I just finished, I had a camera that would not run during the ceremony. It was actually at the same venue, the one that I just finished, exact same venue. But yeah, so I had to run a ceremony with 2 cameras, and I did not enjoy that.
Mm.
But when they won't turn on because they're just too hot, it's just nothing you can do.
Someone's got to make like a cold shoe mounted accessory that like reflects all the heat away. Because that's one thing that can be really tricky.
Well, summer in the Okanagan, I mean, I got a wake up call this year with that, and there were multiple days where we were trying to be as creative as possible to deal with the overheating issues. And I ended up with this cloth that you can put whatever temperature water on it, but it's a cooling cloth. It just goes super cool. So it's this white cloth, and so I just keep that draped over the camera, and that helps. And turning them off, opening the battery packs up whenever possible. And then I'm always I don't like to stop and start recording during a ceremony. It just creates way too many clips, and it makes it a bit of a headache when you're syncing things up for editing. But stop and start recording because you don't want to lose anything. So just a bit more of a cautious shooter on days like this.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else you want to pick on the video here, Nate? Any other questions? If not, I'll stop the share screen and we can turn back to the full screen layout with us 3.
Sure, yeah, why don't you do that?
All right, let me transition. Hey, everyone's back in their normal position. I had some issues in pre-production here, but I'm glad that Google Meets is on my side tonight. Well, thank you very much for sharing that with us, Deanna. That was a wonderful piece of art, and I'm not exaggerating by saying that.
Thank you. That really means a lot.
Yeah, that gets me excited to want to do weddings again because I was kind of not feeling it this year.
Oh, I love that. It's so funny. It's just incredible because, I've got actually 3 videos in my tab that I want to watch, wedding videos from other videographers. I'm always looking for something to gain inspiration. So it's kind of touches me a little bit that you're gaining inspiration from my work.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, like I pointed out a couple of things that I'm like kind of critical of, so I'm not BSing.
No, of course. And I mean, it's a live event. There's always going to be something it's never going to go perfectly or flawlessly, but that's where the editing gets fun. You get to hide those things and not go on podcasts and discuss them.
So would you say you like the shooting or the editing more?
You know, I started off editing and I did not want to shoot. It made me so nervous, so anxious, it terrified me. And it really made me nervous, honestly, until I started Uncorked Films. And then there's just this confidence that I get on shooting days because I know what I'm doing and I know that I'm doing the best that I can do. And I love the energy on a wedding day. There's just, there's so much good and so much love. And I love being a part of that. But honestly, I think I'm an editor. I really, really love putting it all together. And just where it all comes together is, I don't know, it's something else. I feel like it's not something everyone can do.
But it's so much easier to edit your own footage because you were there and you know what was filmed and how it was filmed. It'll speed
Yeah,
up your
absolutely.
process. Yeah.
It speeds it up for sure. I mean, I was working for a company for 5 years, mostly doing editing before this. And so that's yeah, I was mostly editing, and I was shooting some of the weddings, but I was editing a lot more. So it makes it faster, but I enjoy it either way.
What was the moment that triggered you to switch from that company to starting Uncorked Films?
I moved. I was living
Oh.
in Alberta, and my fiance got a job out in Kelowna, and I absolutely love it out here. I grew up coming out to the shoe shop every summer, so always wanted to live in BC, and thought about continuing to work for this company in Alberta because we just had a really good working relationship. We worked really, really well together, but it just kind of seemed like this incredible opportunity to start something and to make an impact. And so I just kind of went for it, made the jump.
Wow, that's exciting.
Hmm.
That must have been a little nerve-wracking the first year that you were out here.
Well, it really was because 2019 was my first season out here. And so I only had, I think, 6 weddings in 2019 and then 2020. So
not the easiest of years.
It was not an easy start, that's for sure, but I am so happy with how far we've come with it, all things considered.
That's super exciting. And are you ramping up to like adding more full-time employees or anything? I know you want to kind of maintain creative control and editing, so that's hard to balance trying to scale up versus dedicating the time and personal attention you do for each edit. So how are you kind of managing that for 2022?
Yeah, there have been a lot of discussions about that lately. I don't want to end up in the situation that I'm in this year, where I have this incredible backlog. But yeah, so I'm trying to kind of find a little bit of that balance and work on being more efficient while still, providing the same quality of work. I am working with a couple of people that I'm training up to second shoot, and eventually down the road they could potentially associate shoot for me and take on some lead shooting days. That's that's hard to find those people that you can trust to send off on their own and shoot at like as I do. And then editing, I'm hoping to I want to keep the highlight films and those kind of things with me. It's my favorite thing to do. So I'm trying to figure out if there's a way that I can bring somebody on to handle a little bit more of the tedious stuff when it comes to editing, so that I can really just dedicate my time to putting those stories together. So whether that's, bringing somebody on to cull footage or to do the ceremony edits or that kind of thing, that's something that I'm considering doing right now. But it's just a matter of taking the time to and finding the right person, a person who's going to stick around and work with me and who wants to grow within the company as well, because I don't want to just train somebody who's just wants to do it like one and done. I want somebody who's as passionate about it or close to as I am, because my clients deserve that.
Wow. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Regarding the equipment, if your budget allows for investing in the next year or so, I recommend the Sony FX3.
Yes, it's got a fan.
It's the A7S III has a heatsink, but the FX3 has a fan. I
Yeah,
recently got it, and oh man, where has this
love
camera
it.
been all my life? Yes.
I've heard such great things, and honestly, I just bought the new MacBook Pro, so that's kind of the big investment. But I'm really, really hoping to do the FX3 for next season.
Hmm.
I've been watching it.
Yeah, maybe rent it out and try it for one of the shoots and decide after. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I'd rent it and try it on a wedding day. I think that would make me too nervous playing with a new camera.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to. I've seen some really incredible footage coming out of that and the A7S III. So either or, I mean,
Hmm.
Well,
they're
Dorin,
both
next
great.
time you're up there in the Okanagan, you should just swing by and
Yeah.
let her test it out.
Yeah, they'll rebuild the road soon, right?
Yeah, exactly. Hey.
As soon
Maybe
as
just
it's rebuilt.
helicopter out there. Yeah.
Oh, oh man, I feel like that feeling after you've had a really good meal. I feel like I've had a really good I've learned so much that I'm still processing so much stuff. I don't even know what else to ask. Nate, do you have any other questions?
One would be, what are your main strategies for booking these clients? Because if you started out with 6 and now in 2021 you're struggling with keeping up with the whole backlog, what were your tips and tricks for success for people who are starting at 6 clients or less a year? How do they scale up? How do they, get to that level?
It's like number one, getting content and getting your content out there is huge. Uh, I mean, I think I had a really unique journey because of COVID. So, like my 2020 was, uh, I mean, nobody knew what was going on, and all of my 2021 or 2020 weddings that I had booked were postponing, and I was, what am I going to do? And I was when I was in Alberta, I was shooting a bunch of elopements and things, so I was very familiar with that space. So I just started promoting those and getting in with those, and uh, taking on those 2-hour packages and things. And I mean, word of mouth is the biggest thing I'd say in this industry, making those connections with vendors and with
Mm.
couples. And I definitely spent a lot of time networking with other vendors and showing them my work and showing what sets Uncorked Films apart. And yeah, making those connections and then getting those films out. It was huge in 2020 for me. I just worked so hard to get those films out as fast as possible so that people could see them, and then they were like, oh, I can still have a really beautiful wedding this year. And then they were reaching out to me and, how can we plan this? And um, so I ended up shooting a ton of elopements in 2020, and then 2021 just took off, and I'm fully booked for next year already. So
Wow.
yeah.
Excellent.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so it's I guess my advice would just be, I mean, your connections are huge. The connections that you make with both vendors and with couples. Word of mouth is huge in this industry. people will refer you if you are friendly and outgoing, or not even necessarily outgoing. I mean, some people want that fly on the wall wedding videographer. But if your brand is out there and you're showcasing your brand and you are your brand and you're networking and talking to people and telling them what you're about. I don't know, I found my work kind of spoke for itself a little bit, but I also was working really hard to make sure that that work was seen.
That's great. That took me a long time to learn when I first graduated from BCIT and I was like doing little freelance gigs here and there. I would just kind of melt into the background, like you say. I wouldn't like make that initiative, like, here's my business card, and like chat up everybody around me, not knowing like which one of these networking connections might come in handy and be like a win-win. If someone
Yeah,
knows me and I know them,
exactly.
then yeah, it sets everybody else up for success, and you can work with people who you enjoy working with, which is
And it's
huge.
so much easier nowadays as well because of social media. Like, we can meet and interact with so many people. I mean, you guys found me on through a social media videographer hangout. Shaya, who hosts those videographer hangouts, found me via Instagram, right? So, like, social media, I think makes a huge difference. I was sending clips to officiants, and I was like, here, do you want to post this where you're you're speaking, and here's a little bit of your ceremony delivery, you can put this on your website. And they're constantly referring me now. I'm
Nice.
engaged in planning my own wedding, and I was trying to find an officiant, pick an officiant from this list that my wedding planner had given me. Not a single one had a video. I was like, I want to hear how they sound. It just boggled my mind that that wasn't a thing that an officiant would have on their website, right? So when I was starting out, I was sending out those kind of things, or the florist, if I got some really good detail shots, I was sending them little snippets and that kind of stuff, and just building those connections and that rapport.
Super smart. Nice.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with the having content. I noticed
Yeah.
my start was really rough because if I would get a few gigs, because they're low paying, I didn't put in like maximum quality. And then I realized like, oh, well, now I'm trying to get a better client, but I have nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
So I realized like, okay, I'm shooting myself in the foot. I need to
Yeah,
bite the
you've got to
bullet,
invest.
give a underpaying client an amazing video because it's an investment in my portfolio.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a hard one to
absolutely.
learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's tough to get that first person to trust you. Thankfully for me, I mean, I had been doing it for 5 years before, so it wasn't like I was coming in and had never shot a wedding before and I was trying to convince somebody to let me film their wedding. So I am fortunate in that. That's another reason why I think that my journey is a bit more unique as far as how things got started and stuff. But yeah, so I think for new people finding that first client, I mean, I don't know that I necessarily have advice for that kind of situation. I don't know how I would do it. Like, right? I had content that I could share, and I had this experience, and I could say, I've been doing this for 5 years. Trust me. Like, there's nothing on my website, but trust me. And then yeah, that's how I booked my first 5. I think I had like 3 or 4, and then I turned those around in like a week. And I was like, get these out there, get them on my website, and so I can book more.
Awesome. Well
Yeah.
done.
That's great. Oh, well, it's been so good seeing that film that you shared with us and kind of picking your brain about how you do things. And I think it's clear to us that you like are at like the top of your game, but you still keep pushing more and more. And like you say, getting inspiration from other people. So that's like, yeah, super inspiring to hear you talk about.
There's always room for improvement, and there's a lot of videographers out there that are doing some really incredible things. And so yeah, I'm always trying to educate myself, and there's always room for growth.
Awesome. Well, if people want to check out more of your work, like I'm going to be binge watching all of it, uncorkedfilms.com is where you can check out Deanna's work. And where can people get in touch with you through social media?
So on Instagram, it's at uncorked.films. Facebook, it's /uncorkedfilms. My Instagram is where more of my recent content is. The website is attempting to stay updated, but my more recent content is on social media. There are a few films on my website as well, which are really incredible. They're just a bit older, but yeah, Instagram is probably the easiest, or shoot me an email.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on the podcast tonight. We'll definitely check in with you next year, and we'll do a follow up and see how 2022 has been treating Uncorked Films.
It's gonna be insane.
Yeah. Well, if you have time for us, hopefully the backlog becomes manageable.
Of course. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. It was really fun to kind of break down that film, and I love what I do, so it's always fun to discuss it.
For sure. Well, that's a wrap for today's podcast. Thank you for watching or listening. Please leave a comment or a message about topics that you would like us to discuss in future episodes, and be sure to send Deanna some love on her social media.
Yeah, and be sure to subscribe to not miss an episode of the Nate and Dorin podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. This has been Nate and Dorin with Deanna. Thank you for watching and listening, everybody.